Brazilian black and white comedy on the TV screen. Clothes bought for credit that he is not ashamed to wear at work, carrying meat to visitors of a Brazilian restaurant, boundless interest in the culinary arts, endless love to his grandmother, a tough childhood, trips to distant countries, fateful meetings, the rises and falls, misunderstandings and dreams, Brazilian bread, Kazakhstani pancakes and Victoria. That is probably the main text for Robert Santos' life. Today the program Persona Grata had a chance to interview a man for whom Kazakhstan has become not just a home away from home, but the place where his dreams came true and where he found his true happiness.
Меня зовут Roberto Santos, я сам бразилец, родился в городе Сан-Паулу. Когда я родился почти до 5, я жил с мамой, у меня папы нет.
My name is Roberto Santos. I am from Brazil. I was born in the city of Sao Paulo. When I was born, I lived with my mother until I was 5 years old. My dad didn't live with my mother. Then when I turned 5, I went to visit my grandmother. For the first time I saw my grandmother, and it was very interesting for me. I will never forget how we came to the village, and there was a lot of animals and lots of fruits. Then my mom and dad passed away, and from 5 to 11 years old I lived with my grandmother. We had nothing at the time. I mean, there haven't been any TV, light, water. We had nothing like that we have today. It was all natural. I remember my grandmother cooking bread at home, and she used everything she had around the house. We had all sorts of different fruits. I remember the first time I saw the TV in 1989, and we had a neighbor who lived 1.5 kilometers away from our village. We had black and white TV, and every Sunday there was a program called Islands of Polnos, a Brazilian comedy. I wanted to watch it, but my grandmother always told me horror stories that could happen to me at night about what kind of terrible things can happen to me, that something can beat me. It was her way of scaring me so that I will stay at home. However, I still wanted to watch it, and we went to our neighbor's place.
Я бы хотел это смотреть, и бабушка всегда мне рассказывала какие-то страшные истории, что ночью там есть какой-то страшные вещи, которые может тебя вот кусать, что типа она хотела меня напугать, что ночь типа я бы хотела быть дома, но все равно я бы хотел вот смотреть телевизор и смотрела, и мы поехали. Потом я решил один жил в деревне. Я такой человек. То есть, если хочу сейчас, я хочу сейчас, понимаешь? Есть вещи, которые можно подождать, но я не люблю оставлять на завтра все, что я могу делать сегодня. И тогда я остался жить один. Работаю в деревне еще почти 5 лет максимум.
Then I decided to live alone. I'm a man. If I want to do something now, I will not wait. I don't like to leave things I can do today for tomorrow, and then I went to live alone. Working in the village for almost 5 years, I saw that life in the village for me had no future. I saw that the people in the village are working non-stop, however they can't make ends meet. I decided to live in the city. I went there alone without friends, without anyone. I thought what I would do there. I studied at school, however I had no profession, no diploma, and then I thought that I would work in the city whenever and as whoever I choose. Then I met an acquaintance. He advised to work in a restaurant. I've never worked in a restaurant, but I thought, why not? I came to the restaurant and was greeted by the owner. He offered me a position of a man who puts meat on skewers. He said to me, come by 11, wearing a white t-shirt, black pants and a black tie, and I said good, but I didn't have the money to buy these things. And I went to the store, took out a loan and bought it. I was happy that I had a job. The next day when I came to work, I was waiting for a surprise. The restaurant owner said that he needs me only for a month. I was so frustrated, but I told him that there was nothing wrong, and I tried to give everything in the meantime, and to show that I am able to work well, and I worked there for 4 years and 2 months. I had to clean and cut meat. For me, it was interesting. One wonderful day, chef couldn't make it to work, and I said to myself that today is my day, and I was pleased to ask the owner to allow me to substitute him. And he said to me, let's go and try. And I went to help, and then my love for kitchen started.
Год и 2 месяца. Надо там чистить мясо, надо резать мясо. Для меня все это было интересно, и я начал делать. Один прекрасный день повар, он мне вышел на работу. Я говорю, сегодня это мой день. Для меня было приятно. Я попросил хозяина, говорю, это самому шухаскеру, он сегодня не пришел на работу. Я могу, давай, иди. Говорю, хорошо, я пошел помогать. И тогда начал любовь с кухни. У нас, вот на 24 человека надо приготовить. У тебя сколько тогда? Майра, осторожно. Все, отлично, да? У нас 3 соуса. Кому морепродукты?
But Roberto realized that his love can move mountains, fly over the ocean and stand up for all the winds of evil, however, not right away. He continued to work hard, he dynamically improved his skills, he set intangible plans and lived, sometimes giving up for the wishes of fate, sometimes going in spite of them. He suffered sometimes, but never gave up.
Знаешь, что для меня не было тяжело? Единственный момент, который мне был тяжело, это...
You know, nothing in life seemed hard. Only when my mother left and never came back did I suffer and experience real hardship.
Я не вернулся. Я помню, что для меня, когда я был маленький,
I remember when I was a kid, when I moved to live with my grandmother. It was interesting and we lived in the village. I didn't have any dream. The village was my world. Animals and fruits, it was my world. And then I did not know about anything else in the world. Internet, television, what kind of work I want to do when I grow up. I never thought to myself, I want to be a journalist, I want to be a doctor. I was not like this. I started working when I was 7 years old. It worked like this. I was going to school from 8 to 12 p.m. After school I had to help my grandmother. She planted potatoes and vegetables, and I was supposed to help. My uncle, my mother's brother, lived 5 kilometers away from our village, and when we went to visit him for the first time, I was surprised that he had airs. Airs is a horse of a special breed. They are very beautiful and they are usually for sale. And seeing how people work there, I dreamed of becoming like those people. When I was 7 to 10 years old, for me it was a dream. Then, 4 or 5 years later, I realized that this profession will not give me the future that I wanted.
У них там был Арас. Арас — это место, которое... Лошадь. Не лошадь, которая, вот мы, которая здесь, да? И специально. Там есть специальная порода, они очень красивы, они на продаже. И видела, как вот там люди работали, да? И я подумал и мечтал. Я хочу быть как этот человек. Для меня в то время, 7, 8, 9, 10 лет, это я мечтал. Потом уже спустя там 4 года, 5 лет, я видел, что вот эта профессия, она как бы для меня могла не дать вот будущее, которое я бы хотел.
Roberto didn't know whom he wants to be, but he felt that he needed to go on a long journey and find himself in a foreign land. That's how he traveled to Moscow.
Я приехал в Москве в 2001, где я работал, у нас был один казах. Мурат. У нас в Бразилии есть много азиатов.
I arrived to Moscow. This was 2001. Where I worked, there was a Kazakh guy. His name was Murat. We have many Asians in Brazil. When I saw Murat, I asked him, "Are you from Japan?" And he told me, "No, I am from Kazakhstan." And then I began to learn more about Kazakhstan, about Kazakhs. He spoke Kazakh very often when he was on the phone. Every year working with him, I learned more and more about Kazakhstan. And before that, I didn't know anything about this country. And one day, it was 2011, I went to dinner with the ambassador who worked in Moscow, and he told me that in Astana there is one businessman who wants to open a Brazilian restaurant. And I was asked, "Are you interested? Would you like to help that person?" And I told him that it was very interesting. Of course, the beginning was hard, and still today sometimes it is hard. But if it were easy, it wouldn't be that interesting. Why was it difficult? Because there was no money. I have never put money on the first place, but when you are building a new business, money is very important. If you want to improve something, you need to buy certain things. And if you don't have money to do that, that is very frustrating. However, it gives you a good opportunity to think, because if you always have money, you don't learn how to deal with difficulties. And in life in general, nothing is easy. You have to strive for the success, you have to work hard. At the beginning I was very worried, especially for the first 3 months. But then more and more people start coming. I was worried at the beginning, but now I feel it much less, because I try to do my best with my whole heart.
Я переживаю и буду переживать всегда, но сейчас намного меньше, потому что я стараюсь от души. Сейчас принесу мясо, хорошо? Спасибо.
That's how one day, nearly 14,000 kilometers away from home, Roberto came face to face with his dream. Here in Kazakhstan, which at one time he didn't know about, he realized his potential and now believes that anything is possible. He went against fate, but at some point he still followed it, and he doesn't regret about it for a moment.
На самом деле это было в конце 2019, Был 17 октября, правильно?
It was actually in 2012, more precisely in October 17th, at our restaurant we hosted a presentation of Brazilian cuisine. And that day, Nina came.
И в том день была Нина.
Меня пригласили на
I was invited for a tasting. At that time, I was vegetarian and I haven't eaten meat for 10 years. However, when I saw these huge skewers of meat, where I think they had 18 types of different meat, I had to try everything a little.
По очереди вот такие шампура, там, по-моему, 18 видов мяса было. Ну, как-то неудобно было, приходилось пробовать понемножку.
Ну, посибель. Но я и первый раз видел, как...
Guests were still at the restaurant, and I saw her for the first time as everyone else, but I didn't pay attention. I saw a girl, but didn't pay attention to Nina, because there were a lot of people, and I was really worried about how would I be able to explain them my way of cooking and etc. Then they sat there. The event was well, and after a week I registered the page of the restaurant on Facebook. One girl signed up for the page, and this girl was a friend of Nina. And then one day I looked at this girl, and I saw Nina was at it too. I went to see her Facebook page. I saw photos of Nina and saw how beautiful she is. At the beginning it was hard, because I started writing, well, hello, well, how are you? I invite you for a coffee or tea. But then she replied, no, I don't want to.
Потом увидел, что она тоже добавила. И я зашел там в Facebook и видел фотографии. Вот это было первое. Я видел фотографии, как она красива, как до сих пор. И начало было тяжело, потому что мы начали переписать, я писал, ну привет, как дела, я тебя приглашаю на кофе или на чай. Я сказал, нет, не хочу.
He asked for my telephone number, and I refused to give it to him. It went on like this for a long time, and then he stopped messaging me. I was a little bit offended. Well, not offended, I just felt that I tried to be friendly, and she doesn't want me to be like this. So I didn't want to force her. It was not pleasant for a girl. Then a month later she posted a photo of pancakes she made. It was the first time I saw pancakes, and everything started all over again.
И он написал мне, по-моему, там спустя...
He messaged me perhaps an hour later saying, I want to try your pancakes. Well, it's social network, it's not a personal acquaintance. So I said to him, yes, please. And he took it as a green light.
И он это уже воспринял как welcome.
I took it as a positive sign, and we started to message each other. I started to invite her for a coffee, but she refused. Then I offered to take her out for a tea. I thought maybe she doesn't like coffee, but she said again that she doesn't want to.
Нет, тоже не хочу. Он мне дал телефон, мы встречались.
Очень легко было с ним общаться.
It is easy for me to communicate with him. Up to this day, Roberto is very charming, and he is easy to become friends with for anyone.
Не затрудняло, несмотря на то, что язык, в общем-то, разный.
It wasn't hard for me, neither the language barrier, nor the fact that we are different. And I saw that this was a woman I want to marry. I said, I am 40 years old and I was always living alone, and could continue to live alone, but I think that it is love.
Когда у нас будет дочка, ее зовут будет Виктория.
I said that we will have a daughter and her name will be Victoria, and Nina said to me that she likes this name too. Victoria, I'm always with her.
Каждый день я благодарю Бога, все, что у меня есть. Миллионы, миллиарды, триллиарды раз, что у меня.
It is a fact that every day I thank God for all that I have. Billion times thanks to God that I have health. It is first and foremost, and secondly, once again I thank God that my life is good. God gave me Victoria. When I look at her, I gain more power because I try to do everything I can for her well-being. I believe that there are a lot of perspectives. That is my personal opinion. I believe in Kazakhstan, especially in Astana, because I live here. About perspectives here, it is for those who want to do something, but not limited to the initiative.
Делать тех, которые есть не только инициатива, но думать отбудешь, да. То есть я пришел.
But I also want to think about the future. That is, if I'm here and I have to work, I will not sit still and wait for help. I have to move, no matter what sphere I am in. My sphere at the moment is a restaurant. I believe that there is an opportunity to work well and live well. I want to obtain citizenship of Kazakhstan. Sometimes people say to me, why do you need it? I say that I live here, I breathe air of Kazakhstan, I eat here, I take care of my family. I believe that it is very good here, and even for me especially. I love the cold. For me, the cooler, the better.
Очень хорошо. И еще, для меня особенно, я обожаю холодно. Для меня чем холодно, чем лучше.
What an interesting story. Brazilian guy came one day to Kazakhstan to realize his dreams, to meet his significant other, to experience the happiness of seeing the face of his daughter Victoria, and he fell in love with these frosty winters of Astana. He changed his whole life, but remained true to his conviction that happiness is not money, but self-confidence.